Okay, so now we have come to the point in the evening where we have to fill this table. So I guess there's some introductions in place, right?
It's now the moment you've been waiting for.
Get those tickets ready.
It's time to announce our winner.
And the winner is 4, 7, 2, 1.
What's this? No! No!
There has been a major development in today's civic election race. Here are the candidates.
What'd you think of that? A lot of hard work went into that.
A lot of time taking those shots.
Yep, and I guess we left Clint behind there. Anyway, I think it's now time to welcome our first guest this evening. We're going to get into explaining their backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. I know most of you would probably know, but we would like to bring up the first individual this evening, and that would be Miss Kathy Harris.
Talked to Hunter and Carter, Kathy's kids, and her hubby, Trev, and I'm not going to tell you what they said.
Wow. We didn't.
I don't want to overlap something they might say.
Yeah, we didn't know that, though. That was a wild fact. Wow. Skeletons are coming out tonight, I tell you.
Oh, it's all good. But where's Barry Third?
Barry Third?
There he is.
Oh, what time is it?
Yeah, who's doing the news? All right, then.
You realize we left Clint behind there, Barry.
Clint Harris, publisher, GM.
We don't need him.
Journal.
We don't need him. And here he is, Clint Harris.
Gallagher. This is my lovely wife, Kelly.
Cordless.
Okay, that works better. And together we're here to roast, host, and toast Kelly's sister, Kathy. Kathy Harris. Thank you for coming out tonight to make fun, have fun, and most importantly, support Easter seals. So here we are, everybody. Valhalla Inn Ballroom. The place is decorated to the nines. Lights, the photographer's here. We have wonderful dinner. We have head table guests. We have head table getting up and making speeches and toasts. Kind of reminds you of something, doesn't it? The only thing that's missing is the wedding cake. Just imagine if these two opposites were married. What a handsome couple. There they are. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. and Mrs. Harris. No relation. Just imagine, if you will, that these two marketing and media magnates really were married in holy matrimony. Let's see. They do have a lot in common, right? They both work in the media, right? They both have a last name of Harris. Well, that's about it, isn't it? Has anyone seen that movie, The Odd Couple? Yeah, I'm not even sure these two like each other. So just imagine, they're married. Just imagine their wedding announcement, produced by a collaboration of what some say are the most creative marketing departments on the planet. Together, the announcement would be the wedding announcement of the decade. Or perhaps closer to reality, the crime of the century. Right, Kath? Just imagine these two registering for their gifts. I could. Clint would probably go register at Mr. J's and Victoria's Secret, right? And hearing that, Kathy would register at the Long Gun Registry. Look out, she's got a gun. She's armed and dangerous. Anyway, just imagine Mr. and Mrs. Harris's prenuptial agreement. These two negotiators would probably have the legal talent of Thunder Bay tied up for months. When it was finalized, it would outweigh Kim Kardashian's. I mean, holy cow. Couldn't imagine. Just imagine the honeymoon. Kathy is so cheap, she would probably take Clint on the annual free Dougal Media safari trip in the Caribbean. What a honeymoon. And of course, Kathy would be her prim and proper self, working all through the night for the clients, because you know who would be back at the honeymoon suite. And the only sex that would happen was, you know, in the morning when they're walking down the hallway, going by each other, they'd look at each other and say, "Screw you, screw you." And just imagine, children. No, I don't think so. Even though Clint, in his younger years, was known to be a real ladies' man and he chased skirts, he was a real man about the town. Kathy runs marathons. You'd never catch her, buddy. So, ladies and gentlemen, please stand and join in a toast to Mr. and Mrs. Clint and Kathy Harris. Cheers! Thank you. And now, Kathy, you can imagine this never happened. You know, roasting Kathy is truly one of the hardest things to do. Those of you that know her coworkers, the people she works with, her clients, her family, her friends, really, what can you say about Kathy? She's hardworking, disciplined, friendly, great mother, great community member. Everybody loves her. There's no bad stories out there. I asked a couple of her clients to say, come on, do you have any good bad stories about Kathy? And they all said, no, not Kathy. Pure as the driven snow. You know, Mother Teresa. We get stuff like that. In fact, the only bad thing about her is she hangs around with her beer-guzzling brother-in-law at camp. That's me. So anyways, what do we have on Kathy? I decided to do what any guy would do, go find something, right? So I went to the only reliable media in town because, you know, those other ones aren't reliable. I went to the internet and I went searching. And when I was doing that, you know, I feel a little bit like Jeff Hutchinson from Canada AM with that daily feature, Things I Learned on the Internet Today. Well, I learned some things on the internet about Kathy Harris. I learned that Kathy Harris is an author of many books, one being The Salesman's Secrets to Closing a Deal with Any Guy You Want. True story. And that other one, The Road to Mercy. Now, Kathy used to give these books out to all her suitors when she was a young single girl. Yeah, she was a pretty tough date. Pretty tough date. And I learned that Kathy Harris is also a naturopath, a nurse, a doctor, a psychiatrist, and a paramedic. Credentials she uses to this day to help her staff after their annual performance review. Yeah, she's a tough boss. And I learned that Kathy Harris is a travel agent, tour guide, pharmacist, distiller, brewer, and massage therapist. Kathy is always prepared to give her clients anything they need, as long as Kathy gets the sale. Yep, she's a pretty tough salesperson. And lastly, what I learned on the internet today about Kathy Harris is that Kathy Harris is addicted to sex, drugs, and rock and roll. True story. Look it up. So, but I had to drill in, right? Let's get the scoop on this story. Well, she's hooked on sex, all right, but it was Sex in the City. Remember that show? Nothing there. And in fact, she is addicted to Coke, Diet Coke, right? And she is obsessed with rock. Yeah, selling out Rock 94 airtime. So the only thing tough about Kathy is trying to find something bad to say about her. Anyways. So while doing my research on Kathy, you know, talking to everybody, you guys, all her friends, there's one natural theme that came through is that she's a natural. You know, she's natural in the water. As a young girl, she was a lifeguard, a swimmer. She used to have trick water skis. And yeah, she was always good in the water. She's also a natural salesperson, as you all know. She started at a very young age, and Kelly will tell you more about this, being a salesman and recruiting a sales staff. And Kathy is also a natural athlete. You heard that she runs marathons? She's actually on her second lap around the world. She's at about 25,000 miles, seriously. She's a real natural runner. But the only question remains is Kathy a natural blonde? Only her husband really knows.
Well, now it's my turn to talk about Kathy. When Kathy asked me to be one of her roast masters, I did what every loving sister would do. I made a list of all the most embarrassing stories I had about her. And then I typed roast into Google. Mike gave me some clues on his internet work. I learned that when you're invited to give a roast, you're called the roast master, and your job is to dig out stories about the victim, the honoree, and share every gruesome detail with the audience. I think I should start by pointing out what may be obvious to everyone. Kathy, if you hadn't changed your name when you got married, you'd be sitting out there. When people found out that Kathy was being roasted, I've heard it many times, I heard it here tonight. What are you going to say about her? There's nothing to say about her. I have to tell Rhonda, if I got $1 for everyone who said that, you would surpass your fundraising goal quickly. Initially, I was concerned myself. What was I going to talk about? She'd been married to Trevor for 20 years. Kids are right here in the front. They're doing great. She's never been arrested. Nothing drunken on Facebook. Nothing bad there. What am I going to talk about? I got to turn the clock back and go back many, many years. Kathy's the middle child of 3 girls, and she'll be quick to tell you that I'm the oldest. You're going to regret that now. Kathy was, when she was younger, it's hard to believe it now, but she was very, very shy. She was a shy, skinny little brown-haired girl. I think I got that covered now. Cross it off the list. Kathy discovered very early that she liked having money. Didn't take her long. She was probably just 5 or 6 years old, and back then we walked to school at both ways, uphill both ways, as they say. And Kathy spent all her time walking with her head down. We always used to look at her and think, what a shy little girl walking to school. But she had a mission. She was looking for money. Now I know why. She would come home some days, a couple of nickels, a couple of pennies, on a really good day, a quarter. It was serious, serious business. It wasn't a lot of money, but back then it was big money for a little kid. And this was the beginning of her career. She just had to look for money lying there, grab it and take it, and it was all hers, like taking candy from a baby. Kathy realized she had to do a lot of walking to make some good money. And in hindsight, this may be where her running career came from. But we'll talk about that a little later. Kathy moved forward, and she's got an inherent sales talent. She said, I have to look for what people want, convince them that I have a product that fulfills their wants, and I'm ready to go. She saw the potential money, and she just had to reach out for it. She needed a product to sell, but she was young, and she didn't have a lot of money. So her and her best friend decided they would start a plant business. Very low cost, you just need some seeds, put them in the earth, and watch them patiently grow. It was the neighborhood's first grow-up. Once the plants were full grown, she started her distribution business. Door-to-door sales. She was a little girl, still brown hair. This sounds like a recipe for success. 2 little girls going door to door selling plants. Kathy was making money like crazy. She said, it really does grow on trees. No problem. Even though I had a little tidbit after, turns out the plants were dead, but people bought them anyway. Now, for a little kid, you'd think this would have led to a popcorn and Kool-Aid stand, but not Kathy. She was a high achiever. She went right away and she wanted to grow her business. What's next? The only way a 10-year-old kid can make some money is to find some high-margin product and recruit a sales team to get the word out and make more. Her next business venture was getting free used household goods to sell from our parents' house and hire salespeople to ride their bikes up and down the street yelling, yard sale, yard sale. At first, Kathy paid her staff in kind. At the end of the day, they could take one thing home that didn't sell, any one thing they wanted. It's my understanding now that this is the equivalent of giving someone a free shower radio. Kathy moved her sales career to the big leagues when she worked as a carny at the CLE. I know this is shocking, but this is true, people. She worked every side of the business. I mean, both sides of the counter. She'd be behind the counter yelling at unsuspecting customers to try and come up and win that big stuffed animal. And if there weren't enough customers there, she'd jump over the counter and she was the customer. And you know what? She always won. No one understands, but she always won. She alerted those customers like crazy. Something like the old bait and switch, and she was the bait. Once again, like taking candy from a baby. Only, we realized in hindsight, if she would have still had the plant business in her CLE days, she could have made some real money. Kathy graduated from Lakehead University and was hired by Dougal Media in her very young days to first run the Community Club Award program. And you have to have been at Dougal for a long time to know what that was. And after much success with the program, she moved into selling radio advertising. She couldn't believe it. Her job was to go and talk to people, and they kept giving her money. She was right. It's like taking candy from a baby. The more she did it, the more money they gave her. It didn't matter where Kathy was. It doesn't matter where Kathy is or what she's doing. You can always see her wheels turning. We were out not that long ago at an event. Take a look at her face, and I can tell she's trying to figure out, how can I make money from this? Doesn't matter where you go.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, no matter what her sister says, Kathy would never stoop to placing shameless advertising plugs into every communication, just for additional revenue. Yours sincerely, I.B. Lyon.
Kathy's philosophy to her sales team is think different and just do it. Dougal Media may not have over 60 million served, but its results are finger-licking good and people are loving it. For sure, she is confidence in motion, the real thing. So much energy, she keeps going and going. They say nothing runs like a deer, except Kathy, of course. So the next time you need advertising, remember, you're in good hands with Kathy. For advertising, email kharris@dougalmedia.com.
Now, I gave her clear instructions, no trying to sell stuff tonight. She is not listening to me again. This event is to raise money for the kids. We can't spend time talking about Kathy without mentioning her athletic abilities. She's been called dedicated, committed, focused, and my words, crazy. Kathy always was the athletic one in the family. She played basketball and volleyball in high school, basically anything to get her out of class. She was a trained lifeguard, as Mike said, and a swimming instructor. And she actually has saved more than one person from drowning in her guarding days, something truly admirable. Now that she's a director at Dougal Media, those CPR skills come in handy all the time. She pointed out to me the other day that one of the most fun tasks she has at work is taking attendance. And when the staff hears her coming with that clipboard in the morning, those races to their desk, they need that CPR more than you can possibly imagine. Just the sound of her walking makes their pulses go. Kathy's always been a natural runner, although there is some question as to how she initially started running marathons. Her first run was a 5K race, but she had one big problem. She kept getting lost. Kathy was an excellent runner on the track, since you always knew where you were and you ended up where you started. She talks about her running group with great admiration, and I always thought the encouragement they provided must really help her. It turns out she just needed someone to help her find her way home. Kathy truly is an accomplished marathon runner, having run more than 10 marathons, including the Boston Marathon 3 times. For Kathy, the great thing about a marathon is that there are thousands of people telling you where to go, and a guide at the end who gives you a medal for not getting lost. What you may not know if you're not a runner is to run the Boston Marathon, you have to run another marathon to qualify, and your time is based on your age. Runners are happy to get older to have more time to qualify for the race. Kathy's PR, which I think sounds for psycho runner, but actually stands for personal record, is 3:27 in a marathon. 3 hours and 27 minutes. Pretty impressive. They say there are signs to watch for so you know if someone may have a running addiction. And I think she just might. After some careful analysis, I realized Kathy has the top 5 signs, all of them, to have a running addiction. I'm going to tell you what they are. Number 5, she openly discusses what she drank that day and the color of her pee. Number 4, she thinks it's normal for her toenails to fall off. Number 3, she carries paper towel on all her runs so she can pee anywhere. And I mean anywhere. Number 2, she no longer requires a Kleenex to blow her nose. I don't understand that one, but I'm very afraid of it. And the number 1, which is frightening to all of us, she wears a heart rate monitor to bed to track her heart rate during sex. The question most marathoners get asked is, how long is this race? Well, they're all 26.2 miles. Most people don't even want to drive that far. To train for each marathon, Kathy runs up to 1,000 miles, so you can expect some injuries, a pulled muscle, a strained knee, but not our Kathy. To the average person, she seems invincible. But wait, there have been some injuries. There was that time she hurt her face. That's right, she hurt her face. The quickest way to hurt your face when you're running is to trip and fall on it. On a dark winter morning, Kathy was out for a training run, and I think she was down because she saw some money. It might have been a loonie. A few years have gone by now. And the next thing she knew, she was on the ground. Shocking, yes, but with the true dedication she has, She got up, used the paper towel for a different purpose, wiped off her face, and kept on going. See, that is true. That's why it's funny. It's funny because it's true. Kathy wakes up at 5:22 a.m. Monday through Friday. Not 5:20, not 5:30, 5:22 a.m. This can be considered to be a little anal retentive. So I looked up anal retentive on Google, and there was this list of 5 things, and I had them all, so I'm very afraid. It turns out it's not just her. It's in the family, so we're not talking about it anymore. Kathy and our sister Karen run every weekday morning in the wee hours. They run in rain, snow, sunshine and darkness, and temperatures way below freezing. It's -30 and they are still out there. They have had frostbite on all the body parts that stick out. I mean, fingers, toes, and noses, people. Although they run in the city, they have been stopped by bears, deer, moose, and once I think a wolf. Running that much helps to keep you in great shape, and you can see that Kathy looks fantastic. You're welcome for that. As a runner, Kathy is slender, her legs are toned, but there's one part of a runner's body that takes a beating. It's her feet. Kathy has ugly feet. I tried to find a nicer way to say that. There is not a nicer way to say that. Kathy starts a pedicure by apologizing for her feet. She could flip you the bird with her big toe, but there'd be no toenail on there. In an effort to have at least 1 foot be more attractive, she painted a picture on it. People call it a tattoo. It's a picture of a runner with ugly feet. There are many words to describe Kathy. When I asked her work colleagues how they would describe her, they used the word dogged. I had to look that up because I didn't think calling her a dog was very nice. Turns out that dogged means showing tenacity or grim persistence. I'm still not sure that's a compliment, but those people at work are way smarter than you said they were. Kathy can also be described as a good delegator. She will delegate down, sideways, and even up. I say this from great experience because as kids, even though I was the older sister, she'd say to me, "What do you want for breakfast?" I'd say, "Maybe French toast." And she'd say, "That sounds good. Why don't you make some for me too?" It turns out the delegation of cooking, though, caused her some problems later in life. Because when she moved on her own and started cooking, she had to call me one day and say, "Okay, I'm cooking right now and I need to know what part of the egg is the yolk." And this is actually not a blonde joke, because we've already established that. Kathy took her delegation skills to a whole new level when she hired her sons, Hunter and Carter, to work at the station. She brought them to the station with her, and the instructions were simple. Whatever I give you, shred it. Don't read it, just shred it. I think this was around the same time that TV stations were switching to Global or CTV or CBC. We're not too sure. I can't believe it. There's another commercial in here. Who let you put 2? Christmas is coming. It's time to make some money. Let's see it.
These business identifiers are brought to you by Kathy, free of charge. Enjoy. If your business was featured, Kathy will be around to your table. Donations are greatly appreciated to help Kathy exceed her sales budget. Cash, credit, or debit accepted.
Now we all know Kathy a little bit better. Well, Kathy, it's time for a slideshow to talk about retirement. So this is the Kathy Harris retirement plan. Next slide. So Kathy, you're not getting any younger, as we all know. And you have to start thinking about your future. So here is a surefire retirement transition plan. Next slide. Okay, so we all know Kathy is busy, busy, busy. She's got 4 radio stations, 2 television stations, 2 print media, online media. She's busy, busy, busy. Plus she runs marathons and she's a mom and she takes her kids to sports. I don't know how you do it, so you need a transition plan. Next slide, please. How does she juggle all that work? Just amazing. Next. So what if Kathy started transitioning into retirement? What if, instead of 4, she only had 1 radio station to manage the sales? And don't worry, Danny and Laura, CKPR is okay. But what if she only had 1 station, 2 television, 1 online media, 2 print media? Maybe she could take a half a day, a week off and go golfing on Friday afternoon, transition. She'd still be pretty busy though, busy, busy. Next slide. So say then she's transitioning further into retirement and she's managing the sales for 2 television stations, 1 online media, and 2 print newspapers. Well, maybe now she goes to the spa half a day a week, and then she does that golfing thing, but she's still very busy. Next slide. What if she only had 1 television and 1 media site and 2 print media, pardon me. So she, as you see, she's transitioning, she's giving stuff up. Now she's golfing more, going to the gym, having a little bit of fun. Next slide. I know I'm dragging this out. She's slowly easing in and transitioning into retirement. Now she only has 1 media site and 2 print media. Look, she's looking younger. She's probably only working 3 days a week tops. And even then, she sleeps in a little bit, goes for lunches. Next. Now she's almost retired, right? She's not busy at all. She's only got 2 print media. Now it's probably only working 2 days a week. She goes out for drinks Friday all day. It's just great. Golfing, the whole 9 yards. Next. So here she is, almost retired. She's only looking after the 1 print newspaper. She's working like maybe 1 day a week. Golfing, spas, sleeping in, the gym, drinks with her friends. It's great. She's almost retired. Let's look at the video as she transitions into retirement. Uh-oh, she's looking older. What's happening to Kathy? Kathy! Holy cow! I can't believe it! Next slide. It's you-know-who managing 1 print newspaper. This is Kathy in pre-retirement. Hey, Clint, you got it pretty easy, buddy. Well, anyways, I hope you all have fun. Kelly's got a few more words to say. Thank you.
That's still funny, and I've seen it. I really just want to do a quick thank you. Mike and I had a ton of fun preparing for this roast, and we really want to thank the World Wide Web for all that factual information we found. And we couldn't have done it without the wonderful technical support, and by that I mean these people did everything, of Ann Snell, Ed Mackey, and Andrew Paulson from Dougal Media, and Rob McCormick, Confederation College. Our biggest thank you goes to Kathy. She's a good sport. Everyone in this room couldn't wait to hear what we had to say about her and really couldn't figure out what we were going to say that was bad. When we were little girls, every Christmas, we would put up our tree and we'd get out the garland, and Kathy would break off a piece about this big and wear it like a crown. She was our Christmas princess. And she's a princess tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian Campbell. Use the hand? You know how I shake? All right. We'll use the mobile mic in case we have to move quickly. Thank you, Danny and Laura. Thank you for stringing this together. Thank you very much. I'd also like to recognize, when I have a moment here, Rhonda Harrison, the wonderful worker bee of this whole operation. And of course, hats off to you, Rhonda. And to Carol Lloyd for coming all the way from Toronto perennially and bringing us good news on the worldwide efforts of Easter Seals. It's good to be here carrying citizens. I'm glad you've joined us. This makes the whole evening worthwhile. It's a lovely, generous hotel we're in this evening on the traditional land of the Fort William First Nation. We remember that and respect where we are and enjoy life here in the Great North. Our cause tonight is, of course, to support the world-class work of the people of Easter Seals. And when I think about Zachary and his parents, and Kendall and Terry Douglas, and your ambassadors perennially out here making a great case for doing the work we do here this evening, trying to raise some dollars. I want to thank God for the Easter Seals kids. These are the ambassadors who call us here this evening to review the lifetime achievements of the fabulous Harris twins, both separately, together, and apart. So, tonight's feature, Beauty and the Beast. You certainly didn't need a program to know who's who. Clint Harris has arrived, apparently. He is, by proof of this event, a celebrity. Who would have known? Other than Clint, I mean. How are... You, like I, was curious as to how Clint and Kathy could be connected. As you realize, they can't be. Clint Harris does not run well. Let's face it, skinny little legs, chubby little guy, no runner at all. No connection. Matter of fact, Clint, as you know, as you're learning, would rather fight than run, which made him a boxer of sorts. Well, more a bouncer. Perhaps, you know, he loved spanking drunkards on their chin at a bar of some fame in our town, the Fabulous In-Towner, hoping that no responsible hotel owners are in the room from that organization. Anyway, his masterful technique was the rope-a-dope, which was no great trick at the exit to the bar. He used that to great success. This was work he took some pleasure in, as I said, and to be fair, his inability to run made him a pretty good pugilist. If you can't go, you got to stay and dig in. And he did some of that. As you look at his kisser, the shape of it, you know he's been tagged a time or two real good. He's had his ticket punched more often than you can count. Although he swaggers around like he's some sort of a champion. It's kind of odd connection. He's a fighter, though. You can tell when you look into his eyes, because his nose spreads right up there, right in the way. Yeah. By the way, I'll slow my remarks right down. I'll speak very slowly from time to time in order to help Clint stay with us. Just bear with me on that. He used to be a fighter, but now he just doesn't care. He's got too many chins of his own to worry about fighting. And staying in shape was a lot like work, you know, like the work most of you people do. It was shocking to him. He's a newspaper publisher, after all. A general manager, 2 big jobs, like a real big kahuna. Anything to keep a good young person from getting a foot in the door at the Chronicle Journal. Tie up those 2 big jobs, keep everybody out. He doesn't care. There were 2 daily newspapers in our city, now only 1, and he holds the 2 big jobs. Is he a media mogul? Well, if a mogul is a lump going downhill, then maybe. But life is sweet. He don't care. Life is good. On the personal side, Clint considers himself to be quite an accomplished chef, a skilled preparer of food, a virtual dashing Don Juan of Cucina. I think we should challenge that claim. Don't you wonder how a man with a nose so badly misshapen could be a high-end cook? He has no capacity to smell anything, good, bad, or indifferent. He knows no sense. Yep, he's gone nose blind. His best dish would be pure potluck. I know his brother Don. Don is the real deal. Don's a master of kitchens. He's a teacher of culinary arts. He's a chef. He's a caterer. Professional grade. A real pro. He must be so embarrassed. And he looks young. I mean, he's found the secret to living well, as opposed to Clank here. But Clank doesn't care. And his sweetheart Kim, a beautiful, fine, and caring educator. Bless her for her mercy and her patience. By the way, Clint, she smells real nice. Tonight, as we're evaluating Clint's contributions to our world, his children are exempt. We don't count his beautiful young people because he had so much help with them, with getting them here, with all that work. They were a couple of important deliveries that he just wasn't equipped to make. No surprise, someone else doing the heavy lifting, again. Clint also claims to be well educated, a learned man. He claims 2 degrees and a diploma. Don't you find that amazing? I know, you're surprised and would like to challenge the truth of that as well. Why not while we're at it? But I checked. He has degrees, but they're the sort that demand the question, do you want fries with that? But our Clint he objects. He says, hey, I studied in Ottawa. So really then it's, do you want poutine with that? Education and sophistication just don't fit with the bounder you see here tonight, all pimped out and rented finery. You know, look at him. Come on. He borrows a good set of clothes, I'll tell you. Now, Clank has been practicing to be a publisher for some time here. He's a formerly ambitious little brute. He worked security in the diminutive sense for Chronicle Bruce for a number of years. You know, the longtime publisher. Mr. Bruce, a real class act, I gotta tell you. And a literate person, recently retired. One might think perhaps with a little, as a result of Clint's fine and discreet work with the owners of Continental newspapers. But we won't know for sure. Tonight's man is 20 years a Continental newspapers man. David Radler, Chief Operating Officer of Continental Newspapers, announced Clint's promotion, and I quote, "We are fully confident Clint can take the ball and run to even greater successes." That was printed April 1st, 2014. That's right, April 1st. April Fool's Day, right there in your daily paper. Now, why is this picture in the paper every day? That's not what the picture's all about, but he knows how to work it. Mr. Harris thinks he has a grip on all there is to know based on his career and very important role in the media. But it's only media if there's more than one. So reflect for a moment. Mr. Smarty has chosen print almost exclusively, which is a medium. So Clint is a medium star. Which really says a lot, doesn't it? He's a medium. He's not large. He's not Mr. Big. He's a medium, for God's sakes. In preparation for the starring role in his medium, Clint refused to drive his own car for quite a period. He insisted on being chauffeured around, usually in a Mercedes. Getting prepared to be a publisher, a mogul, maybe a real big player. But no, just a medium. Very soon after taking over, he announced his greatest gift to the newspaper business, passages. You've all noticed it. It's lovely. Passages, a complete re-engineering of the obituary section, or what was formerly known as obituaries. That no person's land. This is probably what Radler had in mind about running with that ball. My thought is, could Colin Bruce have been holding back on that earth-shaking development? Let the understudy run with it, make his name? Clint delivered a true transformation of how we deal with deceased people, or how our medium changed a medium. So what does this really mean? Well, in a city that's calling for young people to take great interest and a larger role in civic life, we have a publisher, an important spot, important position, focused on celebrating dead people. The deceased, the departed, the gone. That's where his attention is. Understand, this is certainly not the first time we've noticed Clint hanging with stiffs. He's also a big fan of his related creation, the A Life Well Lived column. Again, where contributors recognize in loving and noteworthy praise remarkable people. Don't despair, buddy. There's still time for you to qualify. Keep working on it. Clint is apparently greatly satisfied with his masterstroke, his deep involvement in past lives, of this work of virtual necrophilia. Disturbing, isn't it? Nice, sensitive, underwhelming, medium. Now, we all hope he is well and stays healthy, because often when people get that focused on parting messages, it's like they've just had a real bad set of x-rays, or scans, or MRIs, or whatever he helped the hospital raise all that money for. And I know, outside of being maybe a little punch-struck, his real contribution was to take it like a man, and I admire him for that. He's been a board member of a number of community organizations because of his skill at power networking. He's recognized for it. Understand, though, that his version of networking involves 18 holes of coursework, preferably in the middle of the workday. Many of you have seen Clint's personalized balls. They're nicely monogrammed. They say Chronicle Journal. And even though he loses a lot of them, he's never had to buy any. And you Fairway friends may have heard his favorite workplace motivational maxim a number of times. When you come to work, show up. Ironic, isn't it? Huh? You'll learn later that he's a singer. My friend Roberta, I guess we've had the in-laws. I guess that makes us the outlaws. So here we go, Roberta and I. You'll learn later that he's a singer, Frank Sinatra style. Many of you know this. So he's a cool old soul. He's a crooner, offers anthems at public events, knows most of the words. He also sings with the legends. Not too pretentious, eh? The legends. Several gigs a year. How precious is that? So he has a real fun side, hardly conscious any longer of exploiting child labor in his many years in the paper business. He's making his own mark in music with no help from the choir back at the paper. Seriously now, the paper is important. Imagine life before paper. There was no way to record anything. One had to memorize everything, to retell what you learned or experienced, as there were no means of writing until the gift of paper. Many paper makers in the room tonight, all in new careers, but there you are. Can you imagine the quality of life here if you had to depend on Clint Harris to remember what happened in our town? Heaven help us all. Of course, if you, like Clunk and me, are having increasing difficulty remembering things, then you can blame the paper for killing your memory. No less a man than Socrates knew this was going to happen years ago, that our minds would turn to mush. And you've got evidence, plenty of it here in front of you tonight. So, you'd better subscribe to get the news. The bottom line when summarizing all that Clint is and does, is that he really has fallen into one of those jobs where people ask, do you actually get paid for doing that? Ladies and gentlemen, that is a brief opening summary of the Clint Harris story. Thanks for staying.
Normie, did you bring my broom? I just thought we could raise a little more money. And it's obvious when I look around the room that the election for council's over, because there's not a bloody councillor in the room supporting this event. Barry Stribe, I did vote for you. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. And I'm going to thank Christine Elliott. She came all the way from Oshawa. She's running for the head of the PC party. So thank you, Christine, for coming. I'll let the mayor know that that happened. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. And wow, I just can say I must have spoken with completely different people about these two people, because I certainly can't be that flippin' nice. I'm sorry. After all, it's a roast. I thought after last year I was done with this roasting business, but here I am again, and I have to apologize. And my husband did say to me, "Why are you embarrassing the family again?" Well, you know, it's for Easter seals. I got to do it. You know, getting ready for a roast is not an easy thing. There's so much primping that goes on. You have to go buy a new dress. You have to buy new shoes. And last year, Cliff Friesen took care of all those incidentals. So this year, I had to come up with a real genius idea. So I went to the clients of Dougal Media and the Chronicle Journal, and I told them, just bill them. Cue the music.
This girl is on fire. This girl is on fire.
So just to let you know what you're in for and what you're expected to be billed for, I went to North Shore Laser for a little Botox, waxing, and I wanted a Brazilian, but Kim told me that Kathy'd already used those dollars. Something to do with running and skin to win. Not sure, but I know that's why she's walking funny tonight. Come on, there's no dirt on her. It's all I had. Then I went to Patty's Aesthetics for makeup, Michael's for a mani and a pedi, ABA Dental for teeth whitening, Ozone for a spray tan, Perfect Fit lingerie for a push-up bra, and panties, because obviously everyone knows last year I didn't have any. Or this year. Little Mermaid for a dress, JB Evans for shoes, Mr. J's for a shirt and tie for Campbell over there, because I guess the college pension's not good enough. Prestige limo for my ride here and home. And just for all my trouble, I booked myself a trip with Happy Time Tours to go to the beach. Now, I did use my own hairdresser, because when I went to Rocco at La Paloma, he told me that I had to save those credits for Kathy, because she's had that same do since the 80s. I also wanted to get a little tummy liposuction, but Dr. Taber said that Clint needed a nose job way worse than I needed the lipo. Now, you might wonder why Easter Seals paired these two roasties. Well, with this year's theme of going the distance, it suited these two Thunder Bay celebrities well. Kathy's obviously the big marathon runner, and Clint's the boxer. So it's Dougal Media versus Chronicle Journal, so that's Harris versus Harris. But the real reason in my mind, there's so much dirt on Clint that they needed Snow White over there just to balance out the evening. Now, the Chronicle Journal and Dougal Media each have their own selling styles. Fraser took the sweet, honest, hardworking Kathy Harris and made her manager of sales. And she sends out those bullshitting, hardcore sales guys like Izzy and Eddie Forche. Well, David Rattler, he took the bullshitting procrastinator Clint Harris and put him in charge, and he sends out the sweet, kind, make you feel bad about not advertising, Debbie and Steve Benoit. Just two different approaches. Not saying either one works better, but we all know that Clint is, cue the music.
You want to see who's bad? Come on. Come on, let's do it. Let's see who's bad, man. Come on. Come on, let's go.
Clint has a big ego. He likes to strut his stuff and sing karaoke when he's at the beach for the Chronicle trips. And there are rumors from his neighbors that he likes to hot tub in the buff. The poor neighbor next door even had to build a higher fence. She was so embarrassed. Cue the video. Yes, he thinks he can be all 6 of those Chippendales. That's a big ego. But I gotta tell you, the one ego thing I don't quite understand. If Clint likes to have a few cocktails and drive, who the hell drives a Mercedes-Benz and puts their name on their license plate so that it's obvious to the police who's driving the bloody car? I spoke with the chief, and his comment to me was,
I'm yelling timber, you better move, you better dance, let's make a night, you won't remember.
yes, Clint, you're going down. Clint also thinks he's quite the ladies' man. So I needed to know what I was missing. I went out to interview all the girls, from his ex-wife to all the girls he's loved before. And there was one standard comment that tied them all together. Cue the music.
Less problem without you. I got one less problem without you.
Yes, they've got one less problem without you. I also spoke with Kimberly, and although she has wonderful, loving things to say about Clint, she did say one thing. Cue the music.
If you like a thing, you should have put a ring on it. If you like a thing, you should have put a ring on it.
Well, Rin, you better put a ring. Can't you hear the music? Clint is quite the dresser. He likes to wear all the brand names, but his favorite designer is Boss. Imagine that.
You're so vain.
So I went out to one of our local men's fine fashion stores just to see how they deal with Clint when they're fitting him. This is what Mr. J had to say.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I've been asked by a prominent family member to make a dissertation on the proclivities of some of our elite Clint Harris, discreet Clint Harris customers that come in, and how they want to be fitted, and how they want their Clint Harris, their garments to fit Clint Harris. Usually we'll start with a jacket Clint Harris, and it has to fit very, very trim through the waist to accent the massive torso that these people usually carry. And from the jacket, of course, we move on to the shirts, which will be open neck and a lot of times Clint Harris, and they have to accent the particular pectoral area. So therefore, these shirts also have Clint Harris, have to be very tapered and fitted Clint Harris, so that they can wear the top 1 and 2 buttons open Clint Harris. From of course there, we move down to the lower portion of the body to make sure that his pants are their pants are very, very trim and very forward. So we start with the particular buttock area, Clint Harris, which has to be very trim and very accented through there. Doesn't do a lot for flatulence, however. At the same time, Clint Harris, we move on into the groinecological front of the pant, which has to be in balance, of course, with the back of the pants, and this gynecological area has to be very trim and tight as well, which can be leading to a lot of headaches. However, at the same time, you can walk out very trim and particular and svelte looking, very elite, nondescript, not telling anyone, Clint Harris, and that's how we operate here at unmistakably Mr. J. And very particular for certain customers, Clint Harris, enjoy your evening.
Well, I'm just going to say that, Clint, if you're going to continue to wear those really tight pants around your package, I'm just going to give you something to mind. Just a minute. Just a minute. You might want to borrow these.
He already has!
I don't want you to get too used to them, though, because they're mine. Yeah. Did you know that Clint Harris has written a book? It's published by David Rattler. Is it Rattler? No. Colin Bruce told me it's Rattler because he's a real snake. I don't know. I think Conrad Black thinks he's a real snake too. Well, in fact, he has written a book, and it's called You Better Do It My Way. I know a few others in the room. They've bought a copy and they can relate to this book. Like Bruno the Corksoaker over there, and Cliff Reason, and Silvio Di Gregorio, and the Christie Boys. They all know what it means to do it my way.
When there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall, and did it
Well, I was thumbing through this book, and I noticed chapter 1 is all about Clint's cooking. It's called How to Make Them Eat My Bullshit. Well, it's no wonder this book's a bestseller. Check out the people in this room, those car salesmen, and I was going to say politicians, but there's none in the room, but I know I all know they purchased a copy for sure. Another interesting chapter in the book is how to win at the game of golf. It's obvious Clint collaborated this chapter with Don Kehoe. Because it says when all else fails, like you have too many strokes, or you hit from the wrong tee box, or you have a bunch of Chronicle Journal balls in the rough, then you just cheat. There's also a chapter in the book called Emotional Intelligence. Well, Clint, you might want to work on this a little. I spoke with a local female farmer that really made him angry. Well, this female farmer sent Clint a gift, all nicely wrapped. She felt bad. I guess it was her way of apologizing for making him so angry. Well, the package sat on his desk for a few days before he opened it. And then when he did open it, he indeed opened it up to find a lovely package of pig shit. Did you know there's a Facebook page called IPooYou.com? You can actually send people shit. This book also comes with some added value. It's got his own personal CD in the back cover of the book.
Yes, that line falls on the right babe, not that Maggie's back in town.
Really, Clint, if I hear Mac the Knife one more time from him, I think I'll stab him myself. Clint will be signing autographs of this book in the lobby right after the show. Well, Clint, you've taken a few jabs and hits below the belt tonight, but it certainly takes a man with a big ego, oh, I mean a big heart, to be involved with all the charities you've been involved with over the years and the boards you have served on in our community. You and Kathy have truly gone the distance tonight for Easter Seal kids, and I know from experience that means a lot to all of the kids and their families, and I know tonight they are truly grateful and happy. Cue the music.
Well, when Roberta voluntold me I was coming tonight, I did have a little bit of comfort in the fact that you would be sitting beside me, Clint. Turned out that was a good thought. So when something like this comes along, you do what any good sales manager does. You bring the #1 morning radio team, you bring the most influential television news person, and you get them together and you put on a show. So thank you very much for being the #1 morning team, the #1 influential television announcer. I'm just about done with all my plugs, because I need to go collect some money. Bruno, I'm coming for you. I saw your logo up there. And I just very quickly want to say some thank yous. So Kelly and Mike, thank you very, very much. You could have been worse, and I truly appreciate that you weren't. I have to thank my Heslop and my Harris families who are here full force tonight. You guys are my backbone. My boys are here, my husband's here, and you guys are the guys that I come home to every day, and that's what makes all of this worthwhile. My Dougal Media family is here tonight too, and special thank you to Danny, Laura, and Barry. We had some fun shooting that video. And I also have a full table of directors. Every single director from Dougal Media is in the building tonight. Thank you guys, you are the best. It is the best company to work for, and I have a great management team to work with. I really totally appreciate it. Almost every single salesperson is in the building tonight. Thank you for volunteering and not making me tell you you had to come. You guys rock, you're the best team out there. I can't do it without you. The team is what sells us, so thank you very much. You're the best, you guys. At the beginning of this, I reached out to many clients, and there are many clients in the room who started as a relationship as a client and really truly are a lot of friends. Thank you guys, you came to the table. I didn't have to ask you twice, you're here for me, and I totally appreciate it, and totally appreciate for the Easter Seals family. Rhonda found out, lived just up the street from me as we were doing this, and now we've become fast friends and an easy stumble home after a couple glasses of wine. Thank you, Rhonda. And Clint, or Clank, or Clink, or thanks, you're a great sport throughout all of it. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you very much.
That is a lot of names. Thank you very much, Brian. I'll remember you the next time I have the mic after today. I will also mention why I'm here today, because Roberta, she called me and said, you're going to be roasted. So as we all know, Roberta, she doesn't listen very well. And she doesn't listen at all. I actually remember talking to her husband, Barry, here tonight. We were somewhere on a vacation. I said, Barry, when you're talking to Roberta, he stopped me immediately and said, listen, I don't talk to Roberta. I listen to Roberta. And apparently that goes for the rest of us. So then I had to choose some roasters, of course. So I started off, I had Pat Lang on the hook for a little bit there, but she had some poor excuse. She had to be, the Governor General and some Navy corporal or something in Ottawa. So then I went to Jim Matter from the college because he knew very little about me, and I thought that was a good thing. But we all know Jim's not that funny, so we figured we'd just leave that one alone. So third down the list was Brian. And I mentioned to Brian, you know, did you need anything from me? He said, no, apparently there's enough material on you, Clint, so I'm good. Anyhow, I would like to thank all the people here tonight. Of course, with Rhonda, as Kathy mentioned, asking clients, if you only had to ask them once, you did a lot better than I did, because I had to grind a lot of you to get out here tonight. And it was hard work. There's no easy way to get this done, but the important part is tonight, Rhonda's got $40,000 in the bank, and she can help Zach and the other people in this room, and Kendra. And I think I've been at every single roast there is, and I've watched Zach and Kendra grow up and others, and I think it's spectacular that we can do what we can to help their families. And if you listen to Zach's mother, she's a wonderful lady, and I think she deserves another round of applause for what she said tonight. I would also like to mention the work that gets done down at the newspaper, and I have a full table of people here. I have Hilda, our finance director, Harry, our circulation director, Ian Pattison, our editorial page director, Steve Benoit, our managing and director of advertising, and Susie Q, who takes care of everything that I possibly need, all the help that I can deal with, because apparently I'm on the golf course all the time and not at work. Also, I have 2 tables of family members here tonight, and if you knew my family, they're all right up here, and we are a very loving and caring family. And I brought them all here because I knew I might need some support after, or counseling, and Kimberly's a professional counselor, so I had all the help I could possibly need. So I'd like to end with a quote, something that a quote that I've always loved, and it's about the important discovery of life. And it's something where it says, it's the only mysterious equations of love that any logical reasons can be found. And I'm only here tonight because all of you and all of my family, and because of you, you are the reason that I am, and you are all of my reasons for being here tonight. So thank you so much, and thank you for supporting Easter Seals.